Recording and playback of this presentation was made possible by Glee, Green Living and Energy Education. To learn more about what Glee does on behalf of individuals, businesses, and policymakers in the Florida Keys, please visit our website at www.keysglee.com.
All right, I'm very excited for this next session, which is, you've already heard a little bit about pay-as-you-throw, and now we're going to talk about some examples. On the line, Lisa, are you there?
I'm here.
Wonderful. Sorry we're running behind, but I got a way to make up the time, so you take exactly what's allotted to you.
Thanks. Okay.
Sorry about that. And talked about pay-as-you-throw, and you should be able to work the panel from where you are right now.
No, you. Why don't you go ahead and man the slides for me?
Okay.
All right. Okay. So thank you so much for the invitation to speak to you regarding pay-as-you-throw today. I give workshops and help pay-as-you-throw on the Go initiative. And it sort of reflects the fact that pay-as-you-throw had a surge a few years ago. It kind of slowed, and now it's really caught on again as communities are trying to achieve more and more recycling after sort of catching the low-hanging fruit. What if someone tried to sell you a program that almost doubles diversion, leads to no increase in cost for about two-thirds of the towns that put it in place? It significantly reduces greenhouse gases. It's been demonstrated in thousands of towns and communities and counties nationwide in all types of communities. And it's preferred after the fact by more than 90% of the residents where it's in place. Those are some of the key features about pay-as-you-throw, and this really encapsulates what pay-as-you-throw can bring when well implemented. In pay-as-you-throw, it has a number of impacts, and so if you're trying to decide whether or not to go forward with the program, one of the first things I want to know is, and I'm an elected official in my town, one of the first things I want to know is, so what do I get? And for me, what's most important is, what are the impacts on diversion? What are the impacts on costs? Those are really important features in figuring out whether or not I want to go forward with a new program. So on the impacts, we initially saw some early literature that vastly overstated the effect because they were saying, we put in pay-as-you-throw, and we also put in a new recycling program, we put in a new yard waste program, and they were touting these really huge effects and saying that's because we put in pay-as-you-throw. Well, that was really misstating the case, and I really wanted to find out how can we analyze what's really due to pay-as-you-throw so that when we talk to a community like in Florida, like in other states, what can we say will actually be added to the impacts that they're already getting, the diversion that they're already getting. So we did a study based on data from more than 1,000 communities around the country and controlled for all those things that are different between communities, the demographics, community factors, economics, all kinds of things. What we found in that analysis was that pay-as-you-throw is the single biggest impact, the single biggest thing you can do to increase diversion in your community and increase recycling and the curbside, both at the curbside or drop-off recycling. So pay-as-you-throw fits well with a curbside recycling program and fits well with a drop-off recycling program, and it's the number one thing you can do to increase the bang that you get from recycling. We found that in total, when you look beyond just recycling, when we did analyses looking at what pay-as-you-throw diverts from the landfill, from the residential trash, we found that you get almost a triple impact. When you put in a pay-as-you-throw program, you divert about 16 or 17% from the residential trash or from the average garbage can. That is by weight. You actually divert quite a lot more than that of volume. We get a triple impact because of that 16 or 17%, about a third of that it goes to extra recycling. About a third of it is from yard waste diversion, that is composting, yard waste collection programs, and so on. And another third of it you never see in the trash can anymore because people buy more carefully, they contribute to the charitable organizations, Goodwill, et cetera, and that sort of thing. So you really get a three-pronged impact. It's more powerful than programs that only encourage recycling or recycling incentives type programs. You get recycling, you get yard waste, and you get the cheapest program of all, which is source reduction. This slide, while scary, will maybe appeal to those who are numeric-oriented. And what I wanted to show you was that the single biggest tall blue bars when you get a lot of extra recycling, and tall green bars when you get a lot of extra yard waste. You'll see that the single tallest blue bar on this whole graph is due to programs that put in pay-as-you-throw or variable rates. And that's after looking at approximately, a dozen different things you can do to recycling programs. Our single biggest impact is from pay-as-you-throw, the far left-hand bar. We also did interviews with communities, with states around the country, and we looked at states in the north, the west, all over the country to find out what were the things that led them to get the biggest impact in recycling in their state. We found that the key drivers were the sort of three-pronged thing of legislation mandating a goal and mandating a measurement method, and providing some funding for ways to get that to happen, the next biggest impact that got them significant amounts of recycling and diversion was a pay-as-you-throw program in that state. One of the other things is, okay, what about costs? What about acceptance? What do we see with pay-as-you-throw? You know, cost is a big question. Well, we talked with communities all around the country, and we've also looked at surveys that have been done by a variety of states. What those surveys show is that the cost, when you put in a pay-as-you-throw program, the immediate impact has, on the average, two-thirds of the communities have had the same cost or lower cost than they had before when they put in a pay-as-you-throw program. It doesn't have to mean a significant increase in cost. In fact, on the average, the cost for that community, the overall cost for the system go down. In two-thirds of the communities, they stayed the same or went down. And that also is true for the workload on city staff or county staff or whoever was involved in putting in that program. So it's very doable from that respect. What about attitudes? What do people feel about it? Well, we've done a number of surveys, as well as looking at surveys that that communities have done after putting in pay-as-you-throw, and what they find routinely is that somewhere between 89 and 95% of the people who have pay-as-you-throw in place prefer it to the old system, do not want to go back to the system, and think it's much fairer. You don't find that many people in favor of very much these days. And if you were watching Parade magazine this summer, I got interviewed a lot for an article that they put in place and let people vote on. They gave a little description of pay-as-you-throw, and then they said, and so, go onto our website and vote on what you think about pay-as-you-throw, rather than, I guess, voting on whether Britney Spears' skirts are too short or whatever. They wanted you to vote on pay-as-you-throw. The results were that more than two-thirds of the folks said they were in favor of the concept of paying for your trash like a utility. As far as strengths and weaknesses of pay-as-you-throw, what we find the key advantages are that it rewards all kinds of diversion activities. That is, it doesn't just encourage recycling. Pay-as-you-throw encourages recycling, it encourages yard waste and composting diversion, and it encourages source reduction. You aren't adding new trucks down the street. You are providing a link between behavior and bill. And every time a household pays a bill, they think, gosh, if I had a smaller can, I could pay less. It's very equitable. It's a user-fee kind of system like a utility, and it works in a variety of systems like communities that are small and large and all that sort of thing. It certainly has some disadvantages. Pay-as-you-throw, I'm an elected official, the number one thing when I speak with councils is, what about illegal dumping? We've found over and over again that there's not a significant increase in illegal dumping, that the fear is many times worse than the reality after the fact. Whether you're worried about illegal dumping, multifamily, low-income, large families, or so on, we have some frequently asked questions on a website that can address all of those issues for you. Rate studies are more complex, and you have costs and you have savings. There's rerouting, there's landfill savings, there's more cost of processing recycling, and the net of whether or not it's a positive or negative depends on your local conditions. Pay-as-you-throw provides strong environmental impacts. Millions of tons get recycled that wouldn't be recycled otherwise, including carbon equivalent associated, and the economic development impacts of jobs and income from higher jobs when you have recycling as opposed to landfilling. We're trying to get to greenhouse gas emissions. The original stuff that EPA put out showed that waste was about a 3% contributor to the amount that the causes of greenhouse gas emissions. But when they've redone things, it looks like now waste, the provision of goods and services, which ultimately end up in our landfill, really contributes on the order of 38%. We've done some calculations to look at, okay, what is the cheapest way to reduce greenhouse gas emissions? Because historically, trash has not been really one of the number one programs out of the box. People usually look at the energy programs. We found that all those dark or light blue lines are the cost of providing greenhouse gas emissions reductions through energy programs. The last two, the turquoise and the bright blue, are recycling, and the turquoise one is pay-as-you-throw. Pay-as-you-throw is the cheapest way to get a metric ton of carbon equivalent out of the waste stream, and we should be at the table. Pay-as-you-throw programs should be one of the first programs out of the box, and it's a great bridge to later programs. There's a whole lot of other benefits as well, and you can look at an article in Resource Recycling this last month, October, that we wrote, and you can see more about that fact. Next slide. So we see there's a lot of benefits of pay-as-you-throw. 17% less in the landfill, no increase in costs for the majority, favorable attitudes, and environmental greenhouse gas and job creation benefits. The big barrier turns out always to be politics, inertia, entrenchment. It's not technical issues. That's not what is the barrier.